Good evening, everybody. We're very lucky. The director of Pink Moon in attendance tonight, Floor Vandermolen, who's come from Amsterdam, from Rotterdam actually, Rotterdam. But flew from Amsterdam, and we're going to have 20 minutes to talk about the film with the director. I'll start by asking a couple of questions and then I'll open it up to the audience. My first question, Floor, is how did you come to make this film and what made you choose the particularly difficult subject matter of assisted suicide?
Yes, thank you all for coming out and staying around, sticking around. Yes, it's working. Great. Thank you. There's more light. How did I come to this subject? Well, originally, 5 years, we started with making this film. Wow. Originally I wanted to make a film about a father-daughter relationship and about how sometimes it's very difficult to understand what goes on in the other person, or it's even impossible, and about my personal fear of losing one of my parents. I mean, I know that they're gonna die one day, but still, it's a scary thought. So this was the beginning, and actually then I teamed up with the writer, Bastiaan Kruger. And in the Netherlands, then there was a big discussion about assisted suicide. Euthanasia is legal in the Netherlands, but assisted suicide is not. And there was a big discussion whether politically there should be a law allowed where people who are 75 years and older, if they should be allowed to take their own life if they feel it's complete, which is a sort of philosophical feeling. So we found this quite interesting, and we actually used it or took it as a sort of bomb that we put under the story to put everything in this sort of time frame. And yeah, that's how we started, I think, with this roller coaster.
And can you tell us, Floor, whether there has been a lot of interest in your film from various advocacy groups or members of, let's say, Dutch politics that have a vested interest in the question of assisted suicide? And if so, what kinds of responses or reactions you got?
Well, I think we filled people on that in the sense that we don't take sides in the film, so we show it and we let the audience make up their own minds about it. So in that terms, it's not really a good film to choose to make a sort of impact toward. But I think in terms of the audience, there's a lot of people who are of the generation of young, like we call them the baby boomers, who are very interested in the film and the story and in the perspective of young. And then some come with their children, who are like my generation, which is very interesting because they're more like Irish perspective. So afterwards we have very lively discussions about this, and it's very interesting to see how everybody responds very personally and very different also. That it's not like this is good or this is bad, or it just is, it brings a conversation about, which is quite nice, and that's I think what we intended with the film. Not to say this is good or this is wrong or whatever, but just to start a conversation about a difficult subject, and hopefully it brings together generations. So for us it was also a film about love and intimacy and this kind of things.
Wonderful, thank you. My favorite sequence in the film is the remarkable ending sequence where you make a number of very interesting decisions in terms of both the length of the take and significantly not showing within the final take of the film. I forgot the character's name now. You're the father, Admiral, and then having the protagonist sit in front of a curtain and then keeping the camera on the curtain when she goes to attend to the father. I'm wondering if you can tell us a bit about what you spoke about the other night in terms of both the logistics and practical side of capturing that take, but also what inspired that approach to filming this sequence, which I find very powerful.
Yes, thank you. So the last scene is a one-taker, so it's a 14-minute shot, which is very challenging in cinema because, well, everything has to go right for those 14 minutes, so it's a logistically thing. For me as a filmmaker, I very much like to make decisions in the script station of development, and for me it was very important that this film is about Iris and how she deals with her father's wish, and also it's about, in a larger scale, it's about how we deal with death. And for me as a filmmaker, it was very important that we were there for every second of it. Like, we know the end is inevitable, and I wanted the audience to experience with Iris every second going down that path. So we chose to do like a long take that you are there for it, till the end. So you can't escape it, you can't look away. And then in the very end, we leave it up to the imagination of the audience in terms of staying on the curtain. Because also this comes back to me believing that cinema is 75% a sound experience and only 25% is image. Sound is quite powerful in cinema. So to only have the sound there while looking at the curtain, your imagination might go wild or bring all sorts of ideas. And this was the interesting thing to me, that it's your personal experience in your mind, in your imagination in the end. You can make of it whatever you want. So this was also why we chose that. And then in terms of like the logistics, if you want to make this long take shot, and I already knew writing the script, it was going to be like this for every second. So in terms of scouting a location, you need the perfect house where you can do this sort of dense choreography with the camera. And then we had 2 days to shoot this, to rehearse it with the main cast and the technical crew, to come up with the routing and the emotional arcs and how it would end. And then on the day itself of shooting, we brought in the extras, so all the people who are attending the party, and they also need to know what to do, because every time when the camera like leaves a room, inside the room things are changing. Like, people change positions, there's like different, like how full are the glasses, the music changes, so there's a lot of people involved with that. And I think in the end we had 2 days of shooting, we did like 2-3 rehearsals, and then 6 times doing it, and then the next day also 6. And then it's deciding what is the best take, because you might feel tempted that you combine the takes and take all the best pieces and stick them together, but I think you will lose the intention and the focus, because that was the most important to me, and that also brings that sort of tension and emotion to it. So it was quite challenging. It's actually a short film within a feature film.
How did you decide on which take to use? What was your thought process?
Yeah. Oh man, that was difficult, because there were some great takes where there was different acting. I knew that I liked the sunset, like the timing of the sun going down, and that happens only once a day, of course, so we had only 2 shots of that. Luckily those were good shots, because I felt in this film the theme is already very heavy, the ending is very heavy, so I would like to bring some light in that, so when they're doing the father-daughter dance, the sun is perfect. So that was, in the end, I chose that as the most emotional moment in that sequence. And that's how I think I decided that's going to be the one.
Thank you. I might open up to the audience now. Does anybody have a question for Floor? Up the back on the left, please project, because we can't bring the microphone up that far.
How come did you choose the title Pink Moon? Is it related to?
Yes. Very good question. The title Pink Moon. It's the title, or it's a hint to the title of the song that Jan is humming and that they can't remember in the film. Pink Moon is a song by Nick Drake. He's a 70s singer-songwriter. It's one of the favorite songs of my own father. And so we chose like 70s music to give more depth to the character of Jan, the father, the generation. And then for Iris, we chose more like Euro trash punk music to go with her character. And yeah, Nick Drake also took his own life, or there's debate whether it was an accident or not. So this was for me quite interesting to choose it as a title. And also Pink Moon on a more poetic level is like nature, how do you say this, like the pink moon is it's like a natural thing that happens every year.
Mhm. Yeah.
And it sort of says something new is going to happen, or a new era, a new chapter. So we quite like that as well.
Thank you.
Thank you. Just right here.
Yeah, hi, thank you very much for this beautiful film. There were a couple of scenes, especially in the beginning of like the second or the middle act, where there were a lot of heartfelt scenes without dialogue between the father and the daughter on the road, especially going up to the mountain. And I was just wondering how detailed that was from the screenplay, or how much of it was just found on location while shooting.
Yeah, good question. We put a lot of work in the dialogue, so when we were shooting, it wasn't improvised, so it was all scripted, I think. And but it feels. Thank you for that, saying that it feels very natural in that sense. I like to work with the actors in a very early stage, so we were still writing the script when we casted the actors, because for me it was very important that they felt like a natural family. And so we did a lot of table readings and rehearsals while the script wasn't finished yet, so also they had a huge role in like fine-tuning the dialogue and their characters themselves, so that the dialogue felt true to them and honest. So I put a lot of time in that, and actually that paid off on the set, that it just came out very natural in that sense, I think. And yeah, it's not improvised. So it's scripted.
Have we got more questions?
Just to follow up a bit, because I'm wondering, like in the scenes without dialogue,
Yeah.
like in the screenplay, was that also written out in the screenplay, or was that like the scenes in the car where they weren't speaking, it was just the emotions?
Yeah. I think originally there might have been dialogue, but we cut it out. I think it was like that. Not the only scene that is like truly improvised is the opening scene where she's lying on the couch in a sort of like fetus thing. That was the only like that wasn't scripted, and then I think all the other like non-dialogue scenes were scripted, and also we made like emotional character arcs for all the characters, so we knew like this scene what the emotional tone would be for the different characters. So, and also like the car scenes where you're talking about, like I am lying in the back, actually you don't see me, but I have a small, I'm lying in the back with a small like television to watch them act, and I'm just talking to them, and we're driving, and I'm just changing and talking them through it in that sense. So we did like some variations in that sense, but on scripts or screenplay, we already knew if there was going to be dialogue or not, or maybe one or two words and that we cut out something like this. But yeah, mainly we thought of everything in advance, I think. Yeah.
Thank you.
Excuse me. I'm just going to.
Don't choke.
I'll try not to. Were there more audience questions?
Yeah, maybe was there some kind of psychology behind the characters, you know, building the, let's say, 3 main characters? It was just everything from the script, if you were, I don't know, checking with people before.
Yeah, so I have a background in documentary filmmaking actually. This is my first fiction work. So I'm used to do a lot of research. So I spoke to a lot of families who experienced this, who lost one of their parents, or I spoke to people who have this kind of wish. We also spoke to experts in terms of like psychologists. In the Netherlands you have something, it's called a scan doctor, and those are the doctors that do euthanasia. So we talked to them about the procedures of you cannot touch somebody, you cannot help somebody, you need to wear gloves, you need to call the police, like this whole thing that's researched. We also researched how to get the powder, how does it look, like how does it, in what kind of container does it come. So in that sense, we did a lot of research that ended up in the script, in the screenplay. And in terms of like psychology behind the characters, I think that's my job as a director and with the screenwriter as well, to really think of who are these people, that they come alive to you on the paper. And I think it's, of course, it's also inspired on our own families, I think, and the people surrounding me. And we knew, like, Ivan, the older brother, he's the more practical one. He has a family already, so his response is quite different from her response. And we also, in a dramatic way, we needed this power to move against each other, right? Otherwise there's no drama or action in it. So there's some like basic rules, and then of course you come to think about, okay, who is Iris? And until like she's someone you can imagine and see how she acts or how she reacts. This is the most fun part of filmmaking, I think, to create these characters and as if they are your own family or friends. So yeah, we put a lot of work in that.
Thank you. Good on.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you for this beautiful movie. I have a quick question about the ending. Was there ever a question about having like more happier ending or another ending of the film?
Good question. No, I think this is maybe my pessimistic Dutch view. I know, well, we went pitching the film for like financing and going around festivals in the world to like sort of test it, how people responded. There were some people asking this question, can't it have like a happier ending, especially like the US market likes happy endings, so maybe I shot myself in the foot there, but I think, no, for me it was quite, from the beginning, like the film starts with the announcement and it ends this way. So I think it's, yeah, it's more true to the story and my cinema style maybe.
Thank you.
On a somewhat related note, the film obviously has a very difficult ending, a sad ending, and is for the most part, you know, let's say a film that isn't exactly made to cheer everybody up. But there are a number of very funny sequences in there, particularly the bathroom sequence is one that I'm sure many people found amusing. I'm thinking as well as the sequence in the cafeteria where she is lying down on the couch, commenting on the rather antisocial architecture in you know, fast food places. How important was it for you to include some of these sorts of more humorous or lighter sequences in a film that deals with a very difficult subject matter?
Yeah, I mean, it was very important for us to have this tone, like tragic comedy, right? So the paradox of laughter and crying, or because for us, I think it was also like death means also life somehow. Like confronted with death, you become more aware of life, and it brings awkward situations, and how people react in awkward situations can be very funny, I think, sometimes. So it was very important for us, for me and Bastian, the writer, that there was a light tone in the film as well, because then also the dark moments are even darker maybe, and I think us as a human species, we're very paradoxical in the sense like Jan buys a fitness machine even though he's gonna die in a couple of months. These kind of sort of things we really found also in the research, so that's helped us to build this tone, and I think we didn't want to make a film that is like beginning to end heavy. That would be just, also in terms of casting the actors, like Iris, Julia Akkermans, it was very important that it was an actress who brought like lightness and humor and timing to the film instead of drama on drama. So in every aspect of the film, yeah, we considered this sort of light tone in it as well, which I quite enjoyed too. Yeah, she mentioned the bathroom with the blowjob scene and stuff like that. I mean, that's life. That's how it happens sometimes, I think. So.
Thank you so much, Flor. I'm afraid that the puffins here are telling us that our Q&A has to come to an end now, and the theatre will be plunged in darkness in a second. But I'd like to thank Flor again for the wonderful film and for being here today, and maybe give you a very quick opportunity to tell the audience what to expect from you in terms of films to come.
Yes, I'm working with the same team on my second feature film. It's going to be a tragic comedy again, so similar tone, different subject. And I also am still making documentaries, so I'm making a documentary on Dutch veterans actually who worked through their trauma going back to Bosnia where they were part of the mission. So that's not so light in that sense, but also important, I think. So yeah, different projects coming up.
Wonderful, thank you.
Thank you.